Bonjour, this is Jasmine. Thank you so much for stopping to smell the roses on Rue Madame. For those of you who are new to the neighborhood, I am a writer, a storyteller, and a community builder. I write about culture, politics, parenthood, and my life here in France. I recently published a children's book. Joelle confronts the weather with what's in the cupboard, and that's available on blurb.com. Well, this video I wasn't going to initially do. I think a lot of people on social media are clearly upset about the announcement of Breonna Taylor not getting justice for her brutal slaying in her home by police officers. I recently got off the phone with my mom, and she was telling me about it, even though I had a lot of information on it already. But she was just telling me how my nieces, I have four, but the three that she was speaking of, she said that they woke up to this news of this young lady being another victim of this unfair system, and it kind of had them down, and I'm sure a lot of other people. And I wouldn't say it's got me down because I don't think emotionally or psychologically I can go any lower as far as the social unrest and the constant reminder of what my skin costs in our society. So thankfully, I have that. I guess I know that's really sad to say that I can't go lower emotionally than I already am on that front. But thank God, my family, for the most part, is safe, and my life is relatively good. I just wanted to, I don't know, share my thoughts about what this means to me. And I just wanted to send my energy and take this time to recognize that there are other Breonna Taylors. Breonna Taylor is just a symbol of a long list. So I wanted to make this video for the unnamed Breonna Taylors as well as Breonna Taylor. So yeah, that's what this video is about. But before I get into my emotions, head over to patreon.com and get the more critical, patient side of myself where I can write and discuss my thoughts in a more coherent and scholastic way. So thank you so much for your support. I'm in the process of working on the monthly newsletter for my patrons. Thank you so much. But first, I want to highlight some of the posts that I saw online that beautifully explained how I feel in this on this case. There's one post I saw online. It says, abolish the whole damn system. Start new with Breonna Taylor at the center, with Black women, cis, trans, GNC at the center, with liberation, healing, accountability, reparations, and care as the central framework. Defund, give us our refund, abolish, build better. And one of my patrons, Erica, she really gives a lot of really good, helpful information about voting and politics and what we can do strategically to push for change. But she also just posts a lot of cool posts that are really poignant, that she gets from other, I don't know, friends or um, online content creators. And I thought that was just straight to the point, abolish the whole damn system. There was another post that I saw. Well, this has become a famous quote because of the Lemonade album, and the formation video. But a Malcolm X quote that I had to again repeat: the most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in the black is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. In Breonna Taylor's case, and all the unnamed Breonna Taylors, this couldn't speak louder or couldn't be more dead on. And it just breaks my heart. Literally, it just breaks my heart. Um, Women in general, but in Brianna's case, black women's case, it's just that extra layer of racism that puts it over the edge. And before I continue with some of the posts that I noted, it's just so much information, so much media news, shock value type news where you're just like overwhelmed. And to be a content creator or to be online at all, it's like inevitable. And I want to write and I want to continue this passion project of writing and connecting with people in my circle and trying to build community by discussing and talking and sharing thoughts. But I kind of just want to give it all up and disconnect completely, which I've discussed in another video, how after my last pregnancy, I kind of went off grid and didn't have social media, and I came back, I don't know, at the beginning of this year when the pandemic popped off. But this is just another example of why why stay connected to this, I don't know, melancholy. It's like a connection to melancholy. But if we can stay positive, it's really, really hard. But not to mention the experimentation on women at the border in those concentration camps, or the people are held in limbo, children in cages. All of this, and speaking of the Malcolm X quote, that's another demographic who is wildly unprotected, wildly disrespected. It's just a lot. So I consider these individuals, these people, these human beings, a part of the most unprotected in our society, in America, to be precise. And being in France and just like being outside of the bubble looking in, it's kind of surreal. Because when you're in the bubble, you're like, it's bad. But when you're outside the bubble looking in, you see the global picture, and you're not consumed in the culture and the normalization. Because living in this society in France, by all means not perfect, by all means in need of desperate change as well, it just gives me another added level of empathy and perspective that, the gun culture, the police culture, the rape culture, everything is just multiplied by 10 in America. And I've noticed that greatly by living outside of America. It's incredible. It's incredible. And luckily in France, I don't feel like a Breonna Taylor, even though I know that's possible, very possible. I'm not safe or completely safe anywhere, but the frequency is very, very alarming and frightening. And the fact that my children, my immediate family, like my kids and my husband, aren't in that atmosphere, it really is a lot of stress. So let me give you a couple more quotes that I noted. Another one said, "I wish y'all defended Breonna Taylor's boyfriend who fired in self-defense of his actual home the same way you defend Kyle Rittenhouse in his self-defense." So it's the domestic terrorist who, 17 years old, who killed protesters, I think one or two, and he was named a hero in certain circles in the United States, white supremacists, etc. So another post that I saw. "Cops literally murdered a woman in her sleep, then tried to frame the boyfriend, then tried to frame the dead victim by trying to get her ex-boyfriend to lie on her, then no indictments for her actual wrongful death, then they put tanks on the street like we're the problem." Yeah, that post was like, okay, you don't need to say anything more. It's just kind of like, um, yeah. And the crazy part, in my opinion, is how this is like not new for Black and brown communities. Like having water hose, dog sitting tanks, the whole system just being weaponized to belittle, and it's just yeah, it just makes me, honestly, it makes me realize how deep in a hole we are. Because, okay, I'll get to one or two more posts. When people talk about peaceful protests, it's kind of like it's insulting, in my opinion. In my opinion, at this point in the game, in 2020, this is not the 1960s. This is not the 1860s. This is in 2020. Peaceful protest is kind of like, and I hate to say this, but it's laughable. It's laughable. Like, when you're peaceful protesting, you'd have rogue, I don't know, secret agents taking people off the streets. That's peaceful protesting. That's the response to peaceful protesting. The response for a woman being killed in her home by the police is no charges. Bullets penetrating property, the walls of Breonna's neighbors, warranted justice over bullets penetrating black flesh. I'll repeat that. Bullets going through the walls of Breonna's neighbor warranted criminal action, but bullets penetrating black flesh, a black body, a black human life, gets no criminal charges. And then the response to that is peaceful protests. It's like at this point, rioting and putting things on fire and anarchy is kind of like nice. Like that's nice compared to what the police can get away with. It's like the only person that can condone violence is the police. The only people that can condone violence is the American government. The only people that can condone violence is the military. The only people that condones violence and is in their right to do so and is applauded and encouraged and rewarded and promoted to do the condoning of violence are these institutions ran by the powers that be, i.e. white supremacy and the dominant culture, the dominant white culture. That's the only people that can condone and celebrate violence. Anybody else, any community other than the dominant one, any type of uprising is no, that's too far. That business didn't deserve that. That property is, everybody just stay calm, stay peaceful. There's no need for violence. Only if they do it. And we just celebrated 9/11, or we just commemorated 9/11 and paid our respects for the people that lost their lives on 9/11. And the response to this horrific terrorist attack was violence. And it was condoned, it was supported, no questions. Of course, we're going to defend our nation. But when protesters get out of hand for Breonna Taylor not being respected, her life being taken, and no justice, no nothing, our response has to be peace. Do you get why when people say riots are uncalled for, it's kind of like, really? Since when a peaceful reaction to this type of reckless, unapologetic hate and law and order, quote unquote. Okay, just tell me what you think. Leave a comment. I'd like to get that feedback from you guys. I'll give you one more quote. It says, this is exactly the point I was just making. There's literally no amount of property damage I would find unjustified in response to the state demonstrating with bold faith that they can enter your home illegally and shoot you to death in your bed. I'm not interested in entertaining any other stance at this point. And I couldn't agree more. Like, rioting and pillaging, and it's not cool, obviously. We don't want to do that. But that being the response, it's kind of like, who wouldn't understand that when you have everybody or all the powers that be, standing in your way of a free, liberated, unafraid life. Again, I can't get any lower emotionally as a Black woman with the news. Thankfully, I have my family and my friends and a pretty blessed life in general. But yeah, it's really, really heartbreaking to all the unnamed Breonna Taylors and Breonna Taylor, of course. But we really, I don't know. Yeah. So that's all I have for right now. On my patrons only page, I'm going to be discussing about my life goals, my dreams, and how I plan to maneuver the world with this newfound way of thinking, way of earning a living, a way of fulfilling and enriching my life. And I'll give you a quick sneak peek about that. And it's in inspiration of all the unnamed Breonna Taylors, as well as Breonna Taylor, of course, because Breonna Taylor worked as an EMT. She was a part of the very institution that turned their backs on her. She worked as a frontline essential worker position, which is in that umbrella of the police, and they completely had no empathy, any heart, or any love for the person that worked on their team. And that just opened my eyes to the 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Like, can you really answer the question, does your job, your company that you work for, care about you? Again, that's the question I'm going to be answering and delving into on Patreon, because Breonna Taylor, I'm sure she loved her job and loved what she was going to do, but at the end of the day, if you're not working for your personal passion and personal goals and personal endeavors and what you enjoy, that can be hobbies or hiking or just enjoying life the best way you can without the limitations and the constraints of a capitalistic society who does not care about your life if you're in this body. Check that out on Patreon. Thank you so much for sticking with me and watching my videos. And I guess I'll see you over there. But enjoy the rest of your day. My condolences to all the Breonna Taylors. Yeah, heartbreaking.